What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fit After 50. I'm your host, Keith Davidson, joined by my brother, Rob Davidson. What's up, Rob?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you tonight?
Doing good tonight. Not bad. Not
I'm,
bad.
I'm excited about the show.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. So am I. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Before we do that, I want to get some logistics out of the way here. I want to
Sure.
give a shout out to, one of your companies that you're involved in is Project Y, who's sponsoring all of our podcasts, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Check them out at projectwnow.com. Coming soon is all your products.
Very soon. Yeah, very soon. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really excited about that. I actually have a sample here that I've been using in the studio.
Oh, okay. Good.
Seems to be working actually.
made for men mainly. Based on their skin and the thickness. Yeah, so it's a good product line. We basically, scientifically designed it for men's skin, and it's very effective. For anti-aging, and it's not going to erase wrinkles, but definitely helps with tightening and protection. Right? Absolutely.
And we need that as we get older.
Absolutely. Yeah. No question.
And
Yeah,
also,
that fit after 50 line, I'm actually almost crossing the other side of that. So I got to be, we got to hurry up and get this going.
I wasn't going to say, you can say
it. yeah, I'm okay with that actually.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say our tagline for the show is "Age is just a number," right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all a mental state.
Yeah, no question.
Another shout out to a podcast that you do as well with Tony is the Ycast, and you guys are definitely starting to build a following, and I think it's great because one thing you guys are doing is you're bringing awareness to men's health and fitness, right? And I think it's always been kind of a taboo thing for men to talk about, and I love the fact that you guys bring in the support of the women too, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, that's key. And actually, Project Y, any of the proceeds, a percentage of that goes to women's causes like breast cancer, domestic violence, things like that. So, because we understand how integral the relationships are between men and women,
right?
And women are huge supporters of men. Going to the doctors, they're the ones that push us most of the time. Go to the doctors, try to stay healthy. Really bring it to the forefront. So, I think that's really a key. And by we want to honor that by giving back a little bit. So
that's awesome. That's really good. Yeah, and I think putting power back in men's hands is important. And and education's key. I think it really. I mean, there's a lot, and kind of what we're going to talk about tonight. The whole premise of this show is, there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to fitness.
Without a doubt, yeah, much more than there's the right information. That's for sure.
Well, Dr. Google's your friend, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What's interesting, you mentioned something earlier, just, put that power back in the men's hands. Men are afraid to ask those questions a lot of times because I think that's just the way men were raised culturally. I can tell you, I've been to conferences and, men will come up to me after the conference, after I'm speaking, rather than during when I ask, does anyone have any questions? They won't ask those questions, but they'll find me when I'm having a cup of coffee or a beer or something. I don't know what I'm doing, but mostly coffee. But just as an example, and they would find me and ask those questions then, but not during the audience because they're afraid to do that. They're afraid to, be a part of that. Oh, I need help, So
most the old suck it up and deal with it, type.
Exactly. Without doubt. Yeah, exactly. So
very cool. So, we've been on shows together in the past, but I think it'd be a good idea, kind of let the audience know about your background and a little bit of my background.
Why don't you go first?
So, yeah, mine's a lot shorter than yours. So,
I'm older, that's why.
Well, what's really good about us is you and I live different lives, right? Different lifestyles. And I think it's good to have both ends of the spectrum. All I remember when I was a kid was you working out, being involved in sports, and you were always active. And not to say I wasn't active, but you were active in different ways than I was.
Yeah.
But so I've always had an interest in health and fitness, specifically working out. I've always kind of shadowed you when I was younger, worked out with you a lot. But it wasn't until I got older until I started wanting to make some career changes where I really started getting into health and fitness. And I was going to go to school for nursing originally because I wanted a career where I could help people, right?
I remember that. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot involved. I won't even get into all that, but I kind of shifted my direction a little bit. And I think you introduced me to NASM,
Yeah,
National
absolutely. I
National
remember that. Yeah.
Sports Medicine, and I went and I got my certified. Yeah, okay. Physical personal trainer. My brain's
Yes.
dead today after working. So I got my CPD through them. I got my performance enhancement specialist and my weight loss specialist through them.
Yeah.
So, um,
Great,
but
great organization too. Real
they
and
are.
not easy certifications. I mean, you worked hard to get those. Yeah.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Absolutely.
I'm doing a couple more through them right now, so it's
Good.
it's gonna be a lot of
Excellent.
fun. So
Yeah.
I mean, my goal, and I have a very busy career right now. It keeps me busy 10, 12 hours a day. But my eventual goal is to be able to really train people, and
Yeah.
whether that's a retirement project for me, whatever it may be. But yeah, I've gained a lot of education because of those certifications too. So um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it was definitely well worth the effort that I put into it. And I try to use that in my workouts, and I try to share that with other people too. So
That's great. That's great.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, no, I love that. I'm glad you did that because I know you were passionate about it and you were kind of teetering. Do I do it? Do I not do it? Do I have the time to do it? And you did it, and I think that's great because now you have that experience behind you.
right, right.
Yeah, and a lot of knowledge. I mean, you're
Yeah.
very knowledgeable in the field, which really is nice. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So yeah, so I'll
You.
give a quick one. My background, really 28 years somewhere around there. I started when I was 5, like I said, but a while ago, I started in the science field in pharmaceuticals and on the corporate side and wellness and nutritional. But my academic background is biology, biochemistry, public health. My graduate degrees are in public health, health and wellness, epidemiology, and then my doctorates are in both health sciences as well as public health and infectious disease. So, kind of across the health field. I've been in health my whole life. That's just been my passion all across the board. But really, the reason why I think you and I are excited about this show is because healthcare used to mean something. It's now sick care. We take care of you when you're sick, right?
Yep. Of
Instead of really how do we maintain health and how do we avoid getting sick, right? Avoid going to the hospital
course.
or avoid being diabetics or what have you. So for me, that's my passion, and that's why I'm really more towards the wellness side now. I still do pharmaceutical drug delivery and technology, but my passion is in health and wellness and preventative, really, just maintaining wellness. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and we'll talk about that a little bit.
So you know what you're talking about.
I like to think so. A little bit. Yeah.
What's amazing to me, and I realized this when I went through school, right? So I do have an associate's in health and wellness as well, but
Yeah. Yeah.
when I took my anatomy classes and I went through the microbiology and all that stuff. It amazed me the body's potential to heal itself,
Without
right?
doubt. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we just take care of it properly,
Yeah.
so I'm not saying there's not a time for medication. There is, absolutely. There's a time and a place for it. But if you did the right things and you did the research, you'd be amazed of what natural remedies can do, and just really just staying in good health
Yeah.
and paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah.
You
And just knowing, anything you put in your body is really kind of like a drug, right? Food, drinks, whatever you're taking, it does have an effect, some good effects, some bad effects. So just that knowledge too, knowing what you're putting in and how you're processing or what you process is really key as well.
yeah,
Because a lot of it is the industry that really has inflicted more disease on its population than anything. So we can
right.
go, that's a whole show, but
That is-
that's probably not for Fit After 50. That's for something else that will get, we'll get Joe Rogan on or something. I don't know.
yeah. If
Yeah,
you get him, I'd be very happy if you got him on the show.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think he'd be interested in that topic.
I'm sure he would be. I think he's
Yeah,
actually talked about it before, but
yeah, he has. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
so tonight I wanted to really and we should dive into it because we have a lot to talk about. But I
yeah,
want to talk about and you and I kind of went back and forth on this, but some of the most common myths when it comes to fitness in general, right? Working out, nutrition, whatever it
without
is,
doubt. Yeah,
and I think it's maybe the reason why people shy away from being active or working out once they turn 50, right? They
Hmm.
just accept the fact, hey, I'm getting older. That is what it is. I'm supposed to wake up with back pain. I'm supposed to, be out of
Yeah,
bed when I walk up the stairs.
yeah,
People just accept it as it is.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think the key to that too is yes, you do need more maintenance as you get older, but if you work out, you'll need less than other people that don't work out, right?
right, right.
So, I mean, that really is the key. We do age, and you're not going to stop the aging process, but we can definitely mitigate the side effects of aging, and we can live a healthier life all the way through, right? And that's really the key. Quality of life to me is the key, right?
Yeah, and as society, we've changed. I mean, not just because of the pandemic, but even before
Yeah,
that, we've become such a sedentary population now.
yeah,
There's working from home, office
yeah,
jobs.
yeah.
We're not doing the things even kids
No.
today, they're not doing what we did 30 years ago.
Yeah, we don't even read books anymore. We listen to them. I mean, if you think about that crossover in everything we do, it's so fast and easy that we don't have to go out and do things physically to get it, right?
Instant
So yeah,
gratification.
that's a good point. Yeah, yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
point.
exactly. All right, so I drew a little PowerPoint together,
Yeah, good.
which I this was not part of the planned show on this thing, but I found it today and I found it kind of interesting. So it looks like they did a study in 2020. This was released by the CDC, and it
Mhm.
says in 2020, 24.2% of adults age 18 and over met the 2018 physical activity guidelines. Now,
Yeah.
that's a scary low number, is it not?
To me, that's a very scary low number. Yeah, 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 that is. I mean,
Yeah.
24%, that's pretty low if you think about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and especially since you're classifying a big range of 18 and over. I mean, that could be anything. That means you have a lot of young people that probably didn't qualify as well.
Right.
So I mean, I'd love to see the full study, but as far as that summary of the study, yeah, that's a bad number. That's
Yeah.
not a good number.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's right. They probably did a retrospective, obviously, in 2020 on the 2008 physical activity guidelines, but 2018, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and when you compare it from men to women, men
Yeah,
were higher. Men are
yeah,
28%, women are only 20%. And
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
interesting. Um,
absolutely.
so that I just kind of, you know, threw some graphs in here, you know,
Hmm.
that just kind of highlight what the study is. And you can find this. I found it right on the CDC website. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'll put a link to it after the show is over if anybody wants to go check it out and read the study. So it was pretty interesting because it does break it up by nationality,
sure, sure.
breaks it up by income levels. I mean, it really dives pretty deep into it. So I think,
No, that's very interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So I'll
Well,
definitely,
hopefully, we can trend everybody the other way.
well, we need to, because
Yeah,
when you think about obesity rates in our country, even
yeah,
childhood obesity, it's staggering numbers. It
yeah.
really is.
Which leads to diabetes, leads to other diseases, heart
Mhm.
disease. Yeah, it's yeah, the dominoes fall from that, right? And that's a
Right.
problem. Yeah, yeah.
And
It's
as
a
we
cascade.
get into the show, as we have more episodes, we'll dive into stuff like that in the future. We'll start
Yeah,
talking about cardiovascular disease. We'll talk about diabetes and stuff like that.
yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, we should. Yeah,
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 absolutely.
absolutely.
All right. So number 10 myth. You need to work out every day to see results.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big myth, honestly. I mean, if and I know you know this,
Mhm.
but again, this actually going back, hate to go back to a conference that I was speaking at. I asked the audience, I said, so, why aren't you working? They haven't raised their hand. Who doesn't work out? Who doesn't do anything? And they raise their hand. And I asked them, and one guy said, well, it was actually a husband and wife. They were executives.
Uh-huh.
And they said, yeah, well, I can't work out 7 days a week. I said, so, okay, how many days do you work out? Well, no, I don't work out at all. Oh, well, when you don't work out at all, well, okay, can you fit one day in? I could probably fit a day in. Yeah, that's probably, I could do at least a day. I'm like, well, can you maybe get two in and then maybe three in? And he finally said, yeah, I could probably get up to, he was like real excited. He's like, I can get up to 4 days. You kidding me? I can do more than three.
Right.
And I was like, okay. So then what's the problem? You can do 4 days a week and it's going to be a lot better than doing nothing, right? You're going to feel healthier. You're going to feel more energized. And we talked about that because he said he was more tired and lethargic after work and didn't want to work out. I
Mhm.
said, get up a half an hour extra early. He
Yep.
goes, yeah, but then, the other problem is I can't really do an hour a day. An hour a day is a lot. I know you have to do, an hour, hour and a half, and you got to lift and cardio for 45 minutes to get any results. So I said, no, you don't. So I told him, you have 30 minutes a day, and we went down this whole thing, obviously, right? And that's the myth. He avoided working out because he didn't think by working out 3 days a week would do anything, or he didn't think working out 4 days a week would do anything. So, the reality is you can work out 3 days a week. You can work out 30 minutes a day and be a lot better shape than you are not working out at all. So don't avoid working out because of time constraints, right? You can always make time. You can make 30 minutes a day. Everybody can, right? So yeah, that's a myth. You don't have to work out every day to see results. Love your take on that, but I mean that's just
Yeah, no, I don't. I work out.
experience.
I get in 3 to 4 days a week if I can, and it's usually 30 minutes a day.
Yeah,
when I do it, and I
Yeah.
feel good. And I've done what you said. I get up a half an hour early in the morning. I'll get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
on the gym and work out. And
Yeah.
I honestly, I used to have it. I have a pretty stressful job, so it used to be by 3 p.m. I'd be crashing. Right, I'd
Yeah.
be done. I could lay down and take a nap, even though I
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
But I found that when I start my day by working out, I don't crash in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy that.
Well, because you keep energy up longer, and we'll get into that later when we start talking about weightlifting versus long distance running versus building muscle mass, and we'll go into that key because there's a real key difference in what you should do when you're 50 versus when you were 25.
Well, the other thing too is when we hit 50, as we get older,
Yeah.
you have to be conscious. You can overtrain, right? You can overtrain. You can.
Well, that's something we're going to touch on, I think, right? About rest.
Yeah.
I mean, the key, right? The key, you're right, though. Absolutely. You can go ahead, continue. I'm sorry. But
Yeah,
you
no.
definitely can overtrain.
And that was my point is when you're working the muscles, when you're taxing the muscles, they have to be able to recoup.
Yeah.
Right. That's how you build muscle. So to that point, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Number 9. Lifting weight, and I've heard this a lot.
Yeah, so have I. Yeah,
makes me bulky.
Yeah. If you're a female over 35 and you're not lifting weights, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're going to lose muscle mass by a lot, and when you lose muscle mass, you lose bone density. And with women, that's significant. So bone density is really significant. Women don't have testosterone levels the way men do, not close. So they're not going to be able to build the bulk that men typically can when lifting weights. Women can if they're, dedicated to high protein diet and maybe some manipulation, but you're not typically going to, unless you have high testosterone naturally, you're not going to build, huge muscles. You just won't. You'll be toned, you'll be fit, you'll be in great shape. And the key also when you're lifting weights as you're older, your metabolism stays up much higher than if you're just doing cardio. You can do cardio for an hour. I can show you a workout program for 25 minutes that would keep your metabolism up most of the day compared to that. So women definitely, I think it's a big mistake. If I'm 40 and older and I'm a woman, I'm lifting way more than I'm running in cardio. And same as a man, by the way, and I'll tell you why later, but absolutely.
Yeah, and I think there's a mental component to exercising too, right? I mean, I believe for you that's your zen, right? That's your getaway.
Without doubt,
is working out, and I think that could be the way for a lot of people. I mean, it could be a stress.
My psychologist, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you're challenging yourself, and honestly, it's almost like I got a lot of friends, that I've worked with in the military and even special operations, whatever. And the first thing they said is, and our dad can attest to this. The first thing they make you do is, make your bed in the morning.
Right.
Because you know why they do that? It's actually mentally because it's an accomplishment. And if you can accomplish that one task in the morning, the rest of your day gets better because you start feeling like you can accomplish these tasks, right? So lifting is that task you want to do in the morning. The rest of the day seems a lot easier, especially if you push yourself because you worked out hard. You work out mentally and physically hard when you're lifting weights and doing a workout routine that challenges you. So to me, that sets the tone for the rest of the day. No question about it.
That's a great point. I never thought about that. But that's a great point.
Yeah. Well, thank you. See, I'm not that bad. sometimes I have good points.
Well, I say most of the time you do. All right, so number 7. So this is another, big misconception from a lot of people
Yeah.
is cardio is the best way to lose weight.
Yeah, which I bled into a little bit on that last slide. Again, cardio, you can run an hour a day cardio. And I think you and I have had multiple discussions on this.
Yeah, we
An
have.
hour a day of cardio. And cardio, don't get me wrong, cardio is great for the heart. It really is good. But I'm going to give you an example, the comparison, right?
Right.
If you look at a long distance runner, are
Mhm.
they really built? Do they have a lot of muscle or are they very thin and skinny? They're lean, but they're skinny, right?
They're skinny. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. There's no muscle mass. There's no muscle build, and they're just running. Their heart's great, but they're not burning fat. They're skinny with no muscle mass because it dips into glycogen, and you're burning muscle. You're
Right.
not burning fat. You're burning muscle. So if you're overweight and that's the way you start out, you're in for a surprise.
Yeah.
You're not going to lose weight, and you're going to lose muscle, which is decreasing your overall metabolic rate. Right.
Right. Right.
So you're actually doing the inverse of what you really want to do. So my advice always to people trying to lose, fat or weight, not weight, because weight's different. You can lose muscle and that's weight. You can lose fat and that's weight. But let's call it fat because that's what people want to lose. They don't.
Right.
Weight is one aspect of it. But if you want to lose fat, you really are doing a disservice by running on a cardio machine, a treadmill for 45 minutes. You should be in the weight room lifting, building muscle mass, which then increases your metabolic rate. And if you want to do runs, you do sprints, short interval stuff. Because sprinters' bodies, and look at Usain Bolt when he was, if you guys know him, he's a
Mhm.
triathlete, not triathlete, he's a
Yep.
sprinter, and he was a Olympic athlete. Ripped, he's built, he's strong
Yep.
because when you do these short intervals, you're getting your fast twitch muscle fibers built. And fast twitch muscle fibers, white fibers, are a lot larger than long duration, slow acting fibers. And they don't have as much mass, slow acting fibers. So you're not burning as much fat, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think today, with all the gyms and the fitness centers, there's so much you can incorporate cardio into your resistance training, right? I mean, you don't
Yeah,
have to run on a treadmill anymore. I mean,
right,
you
right.
can if you want, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's important for people to realize that you don't want to skip cardio because it's important to keep your heart healthy. Your heart's a muscle; you got to train that muscle. So you definitely want to do cardio, but I think there's just so many options nowadays for exercises you can do, and you don't have
yeah.
to.
And interval training with weights and then sprints or whatever you do, rowing, whatever.
Mhm.
Interval training does train the heart actually. So the
Yeah,
more muscle mass you have and blood flow, the better the heart works
right,
too. So
right.
because what pumps the blood back up into the heart? It's muscle contraction.
Muscle
So
contraction.
from your legs, from your arms, from wherever, the only way to get it back up into that area is really through muscle contraction, right?
Yep.
So it does help, and it also helps dilate the vasculature. So I think it's really important for heart health. And you're right, you don't have to run an hour. Like I
Right,
said, you could do shorter runs and integrate an interval training aspect to it. And we'll go over that, I think, on one of your shows, on one of
yeah,
your shows. So
definitely,
yeah,
definitely. All right, number 6. I love this one. You can spot reduce fat.
yeah. Well, lipo works.
Like,
Yeah, you really can't. You can't spot reduce, just like you can't. Well, people, you see everyone doing that, thousands of abs in the gym, and thinking, okay, I'll get rid of all the fat because I'm only working the muscles there, right?
right,
Well, that doesn't work. It's a systematic approach, right? So your body will burn fat evenly throughout, right? For use of why do you burn fat? You burn fat for energy,
for energy.
right?
Yeah,
And the body's furnace burns fat, evenly throughout the body. So you cannot spot reduce. It is funny though when they have all these machines out there doing it, and you can do surgical stuff, and ice sculpting does kind of shrink the fat cells and kill some of the fat cells, but they come back, right? And they proliferate. If you go back to the same style you had after lipo, you're going to have to go back to lipo, right? It's just a matter of fact.
yep,
You don't get rid of fat cells forever. Those cells are gone, but they actually replicate and they proliferate. And, it's all about what you're doing with your diet, and probably 90% diet, and
yeah,
then the workout routine. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, you can work out 7 days a week, an hour a day, and if you eat like shit when you get home, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
You've
yeah,
killed all the gains you've made in the gym.
yeah, yeah.
So
Exactly right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, diet's very important. I'm realizing that
Absolutely.
as I get older too. I mean, even though I think I eat
Did
healthy,
we did we 2 people saying we might have missed number 8. Did we miss number 8?
no, we didn't
Go
miss
back
8. Um,
go back to 8. I think we did that. Yeah, lifting weights make women oh, that's
oh,
9.
we
That's
did miss
7. Yeah. Well, maybe the numbering,
we did miss 8.
we'll leave it 8 for last, all right?
Yeah,
8's a good lucky number.
it's a
You're
good
right,
number.
we did miss 8. Yeah,
Good catch, guys. I didn't even
yeah,
catch that, and I made the damn things. Uh,
yeah.
no pain, no gain. Love this one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not true at all. If you're in too much pain and you can't move the next day, yeah, you're not gonna work out again, first of all. But yeah, that means you overdid it probably.
Yeah.
Which goes to like, the rest cycle. I think you mentioned this before.
Mhm.
You work out, you're breaking down muscle, and the only way you rebuild muscle, by the way, is not working out again. It's
It's rest.
rest.
Yep.
Rest is so key to building muscle, and to be able to go to the next stage and do better, right, each time. So that's why muscle grows. If you don't give it rest, you'll never see any difference in the gym. If you're a guy or girl out there doing biceps every day, your biceps are not going to change. They just won't. You're not giving them time to grow. So, or tone up, or lean out, or whatever you're trying to accomplish. So,
And and I think that ties into probably another myth, and I don't think we
yeah,
mentioned it on here, but I will say it is that you have to lift heavy weights to gain muscle. Because I think that's what a lot of people think. You can't build big muscle
yeah.
unless you lift heavy.
Yeah, no, it's not really about. I mean, heavyweights has its place, right? If
That's
you're want to gain bulk and you're a football player, but you'll gain muscle with light weights, manipulation of the exercises, and we'll get into the different types of exercise routines, on later podcasts. But the bottom line is, you can lift light weights, you can do body weight stuff like push-ups and pull-ups, and still gain body weight, still gain muscle.
right.
Quite frankly, mainly what I do is I do a lot of body weight exercises actually.
Yep. Yep.
I don't do heavy weights at all. I keep it pretty medium weight, but I do tax the muscle in the right ways. We'll get into concentric and eccentric muscle use too, I'm sure,
Yep.
but not in this show. But yeah, but you can definitely build muscle with light weights.
Yeah. Christine says diet, keep hydrated, exercise,
Yeah,
or key to being fit and healthy. I mean,
that's
hydration
right. Yeah.
really key, right?
Yeah, you can't underestimate that, right?
Yeah.
She's so right, because hydration, by the way, does help your internal thermostat, stay what they call balance. We call it homeostasis,
Yep.
right? As you know, but by doing that, you're gonna burn more fat that way, and you're gonna stay healthier. You're gonna flush, the kidneys and the body out. So it's such an important aspect, and for muscles. Muscles need water to operate. If they don't have it, you have cellular slowdown. So it does need that, and because what happens is not to get too much into it. If you go into electrolytes and with no water, you have no ion transport or no cellular communication. So it's a
Right.
problem. Yeah, it's a big problem. Dehydration will kill you.
And I think it depends what part of the country you live in, but I know, especially me here living in Arizona,
Mhm.
when I wake up in the morning, I'm already dehydrated, right? I'm
Yeah,
waking up
yeah,
dehydrated, so I'm behind the 8 ball already.
yeah,
So I usually get up and I'll drink one of these as soon as I
yep,
get up, and that's what
yeah,
33 ounces it is.
yeah, yeah. You should drink it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah. And
it's
not everybody's the same, right? Because some people dehydrate faster.
right,
Yeah, a lot of people are bad at staying hydrated. Absolutely, that's a big deal. Um, you know, a lot of people they say 8 ounce glasses. That's a nice thing they talk about because it gives some idea. But everybody's going to be different. You can tell when you're dehydrated by your skin. Basically, you can feel your skin. You can touch it. If you touch your face and you kind of stays at a certain redness or paleness. That will tell you about hydration as well. There's lots of little tricks, but you'll know when you're not hydrated enough. You definitely do. And you should be going to the bathroom a lot when you first start drinking water, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's important. It's important to clear the system.
yeah. I've always, again, for me, I've always calculated as half my body weight in water. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
eight
Yeah.
ounces, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then I've done pretty well with that. I
Yeah.
was drinking almost a gallon a day, which is good. And
Yeah. That's really good.
there's days I go and I only have one of these. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Everybody,
Yeah.
everybody slips. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're a
All
camel.
right.
Camels are good at that.
So this is interesting.
Yeah,
This is a very interesting one. You should stretch before working out, and that's always what we've been taught, right? We've
yeah,
always taught
yeah,
stretch those
yeah.
muscles before you before you work out.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean that's true. A lot of people do. I don't think static stretching is the way to go, though.
Right.
And you probably would agree with this, especially with your background. Really, it should be dynamic stretching, which is stretching that's integrated into movement, right? That's dynamic stretching. And if you look at a lot of, I'll use football since I coach high school football. A lot of football teams that, pro football teams now are doing dynamic stretching. Not They don't sit there and do just static stretching before the game. Stretching after a workout, statically is okay.
Mhm.
But when you're getting ready to do movements, you want the joints to be loose and fluid. You want the muscles to be, you want them to have that kinetic connection, that understanding and messaging of each other, right? Yeah, I think static stretching is probably not a good way to go. I wouldn't do it ever before I work out. And actually, we've seen a huge reduction. I coach high school football. We've seen a huge reduction in injuries by doing dynamic stretching versus static stretching.
I was going to
Static stretching is like laying on the ground and just reaching for your toes to stretch the hamstring and the hips, and
yeah.
it's just not the best way to go.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that
I'm
was
sorry.
the question I was going to ask. Are they more prone to injury when they do static stretching?
I think they are actually. If you think about what you're doing, muscles aren't warmed up, and now you're just trying to extend that muscle and stretch it as much as possible when it wants to kind of be locked.
Right.
You have what they call different filaments in the muscle, myosin and actin filaments that connect and lock. And if you don't kind of work them a little bit before you go and try to elongate and then contract as much, you're going to have some injury potential because it's like you waking up and just, I don't know, going and driving a car right that second. I mean, you're a little bit foggy,
Right. Right.
just like your muscles, a little bit foggy. They need to warm up a little. They need that cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But I owe too, like I do. But yeah, it's definitely dangerous. I think just to do static stretching right before.
Yeah, I think that's why you see a lot of sports teams. I know they did this a lot when I was coaching baseball. Was they
Yeah,
make kids just do a lap around the track, just to get
yeah, you have to warm it up. Absolutely, absolutely.
them.
Yeah, that's a big. I tell you, that is a big issue in people working out. They get hurt more stretching than they do working out. So it's like, okay, I just pulled a hamstring. Well, how'd you do it? I was stretching.
Yeah,
Well, okay, well that's a problem. Build the hamstrings and then stretch them. So yeah, I don't love that.
I mean, definitely makes sense.
Yeah,
This is a great one too. You can out exercise a bad diet.
yeah. Yeah, never going to happen. That's the biggest misnomer, I think, known to men and women. It doesn't work that way. If you are, not eating healthy, I mean, it does have some effect, but it's 90% diet. If
Yeah,
you want to stay healthy, you can't just do one aspect of it. That's like saying if I keep my gas filled, but I don't ever change the oil, I'm okay, right? Or, I mean, it's just not going to work that way. Your body is a system, right? And it functions on multiple levels. It needs fuel input and it needs to stay tuned up, right? So to speak. So if you're not doing both, then you're going to fail. Even just diet, yeah, you can lose weight,
right,
but you're going to lose muscle mass. In the end, you're going to have, bone issues and muscle issues and, fatigue and hip, lots of things that happen, right? In fact, you see this a lot with the new weight loss products in the market, the GLP-1, right, products that people are taking just that. They're really not changing their diet much. They're eating less because that's what they're doing with the GLP-1s, but they're
right.
not working out. So they're losing all this muscle mass, and they decrease their metabolism because of that.
Yeah,
And basically, they change the metabolism goes in the inverse of where they want it to go, and they never get better, right? So if you're and they get fatter when they get off because they have not changed their diet. So
right.
diet is such a key to maintaining any type of fitness level, to be honest.
And what are your thoughts on, it really is when you break it down to its simplest, it really is calories in versus calorie out, right? Um,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
what are your thoughts on calorie counting? I mean, for people who are really struggling to lose weight, do you think it's a good way to go?
I think it helps. I think it teaches you how much you're truly eating. A
Right.
lot of people, when they do calorie counting, they are like so shocked that they're eating 7,000 calories a day, or whatever it is, right? They're not, but 4,000, whatever. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. How did that happen? Well, because you don't realize the stuff you're eating is actually high calorie content, right? Especially processed foods, right? Different sugars and stuff like that. But I think, as important as calorie counting is, I would say the ratios of what types of food you eat are just as important. So, carbohydrates, you still need carbohydrates, you still need fats, and you still need protein. But the ratio that you eat those is really key. Protein should be a higher level
Right.
than your carbohydrates and your fats. And everybody's different. I'm a unique. I'd love to have him on the show, Dr. Goglia, who did created a test in Duke University. He does PhD there, and it shows you what your ratios really are. And I'm like 1% of the population where I can eat evenly proteins, fats, and carbohydrates and do very well.
Huh.
Most people have to have a higher protein diet. Some people have to have, a very low fat diet, high carb. So it just depends. But you definitely need to look at ratios. And most people are in the 30-30-40 ratio.
Right.
So what that means is 40% protein, 30 carbs, 30 fat,
Yeah.
and good fats though. And then you got to get into that a little bit, the good fats and bad fats. Let's see, a food diary. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great
That's
way to show how you eat and when you eat. Exactly. Absolutely. The timing you eat. Absolutely. If you're, a lot of people are afraid to eat at night. If you're working out though, it doesn't hurt to keep your metabolism up by taking a protein drink, mostly protein, because it's gonna go create protein synthesis. Mostly protein at night, but maybe an hour and a half before you go to bed, a protein shake or drink, or even a good healthy protein bar that was just made with egg whites and some other products, nothing, no processed
right.
dates and stuff like that are a pretty decent way to go. But I think people underestimate if you can do protein at night before bed, maybe an hour and a half before bed. It does increase your metabolism, and it doesn't allow your body to dip into muscle for energy when you wake up, because you're actually helping with protein synthesis. So
Right. A-
yeah,
And that's what I started doing because I get for some reason I get snacky at night. I sit down, I'm
yeah,
relaxing from the day. I always
yeah.
sitting watching TV, and that's what I started doing. I started doing a protein shake.
Yeah, better than eating ice cream at night, right? Because that's not going to do. I try to, I look at food. We all sway. I had ice cream last time I visited you, and maybe a couple of cups of ice cream. And you got to cheat once in a while, no question.
Right.
But I always look at, okay, when I'm taking during the week, especially, I'm eating food. What's the benefit of this food I'm taking right now? Is there a benefit to it? And sometimes I'll say, you know what, there's no benefit, but screw it, I'm going to eat it anyway.
Tastes good.
But yeah, exactly. But most of the time, by asking that question, it really makes you think about, do I really want to eat that?
Right.
Right? Because now I just wasted that, whatever. So the more times you ask that question, what's the benefit of this piece of food or drink or whatever you're doing? I think it does change your behavior.
Right.
Asking those tough questions of yourself, right? Why am I eating this 2 scoops of ice cream at night? Or 4 scoops or whatever it is. And ice cream's my downfall. That's why I use it. But
Yeah.
but once in a while you have to do it too. I mean, as long as you only do it once in a while.
Well, and I think that's key too, because that's
Yeah,
why I hate the word diet.
yeah,
That's a bad word to use. I think it
yeah.
really is lifestyle change, right?
Yeah, well, diets never work. I agree with you 100%.
Right. Because as soon as you're done with your diet, whether it's your Whole30, whatever it is, you're going right back to the way you were before.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
unless you can sustain it for a long period of time, and that's what I tell people when they ask me about how to eat or what they should eat. You got to set realistic goals for yourself, right?
Without a doubt.
If you're somebody like you, as downfall as ice cream, work that in occasionally. Don't do it every
Yeah,
night, right? Maybe once a
yeah,
month you have a couple scoops of ice cream.
Yeah.
so you have to set realistic expectations, or else you're just going to go right back to the lifestyle you had before. If you
Well,
can't,
don't live next to a Ben and Jerry's. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, never thought about having a protein shake at night.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, one other aspect. Thank you for bringing that up, Christine. One other aspect of protein and taking a protein shake at night is it actually controls your glucose levels, your sugar levels,
mhm,
believe it or not. So it basically helps to control those sugar levels so you're not all out of whack. And there's lots of drinks out there for pre-diabetics too that have that are very high in protein. You've probably seen these, and it kind of helps control that release of glucose. So protein at night is actually a pretty good way to go with controlling that sugar level, creating what they call protein synthesis, which is needed for building muscle,
right,
lean muscle rather than storing fat. So I think there's many aspects to having some protein right before you go to bed, or at the time you normally would snack at night. That's what I do. If
right.
I'm getting that chocolate, craving, I'm going to grab a chocolate protein shake, and I feel better about myself than I did after I ate 2 scoops of Ben and Jerry's chocolate. Monkey fudge or whatever they call it, but so yeah, chunky monkey. I think I don't know,
Monkey,
whatever
yeah.
it is. Yeah, yeah, but it's good stuff. I'm not gonna lie, it tastes great. Can I make a protein ice cream? Maybe one day.
Oh,
But
that would be
yeah,
great. Wouldn't that
that'd be great. I'd
be
be eating
awesome?
that all night. Yeah.
Uh,
So
more sweat means a better workout.
yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with your fitness level. Sweat's great though. It does, detoxifies the skin and stuff like that. But you can go in a sauna or a steam room if you want to do that. It's not really about sweating. It is about work effort and effort, but it's not about how much you perspire. It has really no effect on building that lean muscle or burning body fat at all.
Right,
There's many aerobics that have an effect. It's your anaerobic activity, your heart rate in anaerobic activity, and in aerobic activity helps a little bit, but it's really about converting your body from more adipose tissue to lean muscle mass.
right,
That is the best way to get in shape. Number one, get healthier joints. Number two, and number three, burn body fat. Those three aspects are incredibly beneficial. And then the working out with weights and lean muscle and we call resistance training also does lower your blood pressure. You get a temporary increase when you work out,
right.
temporary, but very low. But it lowers your blood pressure overall and your heart rate. So, and it's been shown, it's been proven. These are studies, which I wish I should have told you to pick one of those up. But it's we could do that on another show. But working out like resistance training again, you may not perspire the way you would be running an hour on a treadmill. But that's
Right,
okay. That doesn't mean you didn't work out.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sweating is really your body's cooling mechanism. That's the
Yeah.
ultimate.
Yeah. That's all cool.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Keep the air conditioner on. Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're working out harder.
It does not. No. No. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, number one, you should avoid carbs to get fit.
Yeah. That's another big mistake that people make by not doing carbs and not having introducing the sugars, the good sugars and glycogen to the body. It will pull it from muscle. So if you're only eating meat, you go on a protein diet and you see these people on Atkins and they look good pretty fast. I mean, some people, but they lose fat really quick. But what happens is eventually it switches, right? And that switch turns on and says, oh gosh, I'm not getting enough, sugar and glycogen from my, to produce glycogen from my food. Now I got to take it from the best place to take it. And the best place to take it is muscle.
Yeah,
So muscle has a lot of energy stored in it. So it will actually take it from there. And it's not a good thing. And when you're working out, you need some carbs. Carbs are good for helping to recycle ATP in the muscles and the bodies and the cells. It helps for shuttling in what we talked about earlier, hydration, water,
yeah,
right? So there's many aspects of carbs that you need. You got to eat good carbs. You don't have to, obviously if you're eating, Hershey's chocolate bars before you work out, it's probably not going to do good, right?
yeah. So
So
stay away from the simple carbs. You want to go with the
yeah,
complex.
Complex carbs are better. Complex carbs are much better. And people are afraid of eating fruits too now. I mean, I hear these stories like, well, fruits have too much sugar, but they're a different type, right?
Right.
It's not the same. It doesn't affect you the same way
Yeah.
as processed foods, as simple carbs and simple sugars. So yeah, carbs are such a necessary component, I think, to working out and staying fit and also staying hydrated, right? I mean,
Right.
if you're not gonna have carbs, you can have some issues, and then you're also taxing the kidneys because the kidneys use some components of that to actually reduce that protein and process. So I think there's many aspects to it. So
But I
yeah,
think what you mentioned before is key. You know what your ratios are, right? I
yeah.
mean, you know,
Yeah, yeah, and your complex carbs, by the way, you're going to get a lot more vitamins and nutrition from that as well, right? There's that you're not going to get for certain meats and proteins.
yeah.
So you definitely need that. Yeah,
Yeah, plus, the simple carbs can really cause insulin spikes because they break down a lot quicker than the complex carbs.
yeah, exactly. Insulin spike and then insulin eventually insulin resistance.
Right.
If you are a simple carb eater, and let's talk about, I mean, simple carbs. You can name a couple of them, right? I mean,
Oh, bread would be
pretty
one of them for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's going to break down rapidly, and you're going to get spiking.
Mhm.
You got it like a potatoes much better.
Right.
They have what Spud Nuts, which is a potato donut company.
Oh, really? I didn't.
Yeah, because it has less of the insulin spikes.
Yeah.
So and they taste phenomenal, by the way. I'm not going to lie, but so yeah, complex carbs are more of these, the fruits and the vegetables, broccolis, and things like that, string beans, and some good green stuff, and carrots. And carrots though have a high sugar content, so I stay away from those.
Yeah.
Yeah, pasta's another. Yeah, pasta. I eat pasta once in a while. Depends what type of pasta you get. You can buy pastas now made from many different things, right? So it doesn't always have to be the simple carb pastas. But yeah, they can spike your sugar levels pretty fast too.
It's funny. I don't think people associate, leafy greens with carbs. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, yeah,
because
true.
as soon as you say carbs, you're always thinking bread, pasta. You always go
Yeah, yeah,
standbys. But
yeah. But your vegetables are all carbohydrates. Your fruits are carbohydrates. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
gotta eat your veggies.
You do. Nuts are some of the best. I saw you had almonds on the picture. You know, they are probably some of the best. Foods for losing weight and also just for working out because they have the good fats and they have the good, and good carbs that you can pull from that and protein. So it has a combination of all three, which is phenomenal when you're eating them. So,
You gotta be careful what almonds you get though, because when they're coated in sugar at the fair, it doesn't
oh,
exactly
that
same.
doesn't count.
Oh,
Yeah. Trader Joe's has one of the best sesame coated honey almonds. They're the best.
oh, really?
Yeah, but they're pretty sweet. Yeah, yeah.
Usually get mine from Sprouts. I get the salted ones.
Yeah, yeah, I get. Yeah, absolutely.
I love almonds. I A lot of times I'll grind them up in a protein shake too.
Is a good avocado is great in a protein shake because they have some of the best fats in there,
Yep.
and you need the good fats, right? Fats when you have good fats, you're actually going to burn more fat. I know
Right.
people don't realize that, right? So avocado is great. It also makes your shake creamy. It's really amazing if you actually. I don't know if you've ever tried it,
I
but
have.
if you get a good avocado blended in a shake, especially vanilla shakes, they really make it smooth. It's really good.
Yeah.
And you can replace that with, if you're doing dairy in there, you can just do avocado for the creaminess of it, and it's a good thickener. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on dairy, like whole milk?
If you're not lactose intolerant, milk's not that bad. It's
Yeah.
really not that bad. Yeah, I'm not against drinking milk once in a while and having certain dairies. Yeah.
I love milk.
Cheese and meats and stuff like that. I mean, again, they're not going to spike your insulin. The biggest issue we have in this country is that fast, sugar rush and the spiking insulin. The more you have your insulin being released, the more likely you become, your body becomes insulin resistant, and it just doesn't. It's like crying wolf, right? You do it so many times, no one believes you. So the insulin doesn't believe you.
Yeah.
So it stops coming, and then you got to shoot insulin in you to protect against the rise in sugar that will kill you. So yeah, it's a very 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 interesting balance there, if you will. Yeah.
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 And you have to be careful with all these fake sugars too, because your body really doesn't know the difference, right? I mean, because fake sugars tend to be, I think I read somewhere between 500 and 700 times sweeter than actual sugar, and
Yeah.
your body immediately is going to start releasing insulin at that point as soon as you start eating it. So
Yeah. There's definitely different studies that show different aspects. So certain sweeteners, you know, the bigger issue with sweeteners are that for some reason, people that are doing the artificial sweeteners, there's a good study that shows that they eat a hell of a lot more food, and it makes them more hungry, and it also creates GI issues. So you're not absorbing the nutrients properly. So a lot of these different artificial sweeteners are actually killing all the good bacteria in the body. So even some of these sugar alcohols, you've probably seen that.
yeah,
Xylitol, for example, is used on in gums for teeth because it actually does kill the bacteria. But the problem with that is, if you're using it in other products, it actually kills the good bacteria in the gut. And then again, the gut health, and I know we're going to get into this in the show. Gut health is directly related to how your body processes sugars, insulin, how it communicates to the brain, how it curbs appetite versus cravings. So, good flora in the GI is crucial to your overall health as well.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm not saying you have to go crazy. You just have to know what you're putting in your body and why, right?
yeah.
That's the best thing I could say.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with. I had some experiences with gut issues, so
Yeah, yeah,
I vouch for that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
All
you're
right,
not absorbing nutrients the way you should either, right?
right,
So that's a
right.
problem. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
that's huge. That's huge.
yeah. It's a big deal. Big deal.
All right, I put a couple of bonus ones in here, and I'm gonna have to go
Let's
back.
do
I,
that.
I haven't pulled up. I'm gonna have to go back to number 8 because I can't believe I missed number 8. But we'll go back to that. But
Maybe there's no eight.
I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
baffled by it now. But one of the ones that I've heard personally is you're too old to start working out.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so if you're 50, you're too young not to start, and yeah, you should start. I mean, you're never too old. It always helps, no question about it. Obviously, is it better if you started when you were younger and you're acclimated to working out all the time? Absolutely.
Right.
But overall, you're never too old to start working out. Age is a number. I mean, you're never too old to start anything. So for me, if you're 70 and you start working out, and I know people, by the way, have done this, it definitely helps them. I know people that have done, started working out, and I'm talking about light workout, just moving, right? Just walking, just moving, is changing their lives significantly. So you're never too old.
That's good. That's always good to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you do have to
I
be
mean,
careful.
I don't know what your thoughts are. I mean, you got to be careful. You're not going to lift, and you're not going to have your lifetime max bench press. You know, but I mean, it definitely helps.
I read a story a while back. I want to say it was a couple of years ago. There was a 93-year-old man who was
Yeah,
benching like 500 pounds or something like
yeah, yeah,
it was absolutely insane. But he
yeah,
was probably into fitness his whole life, and
yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting. I spent a lot of time, in Europe and a lot of in the Catalan area in Spain, and and other areas in Europe. I've been to lots of different areas in Europe, and over and over again, I see people eating late dinners and just they drink their wine, they eat their food, but they're in amazing shape and they're fit and they're older, right? Because they're walking home from dinner, they're walking to this area, they're walking to that area, they're carrying stuff with them. So
yeah,
they're constantly using their body functionally, right?
right,
And it keeps them in better shape. There's a lot of what they call the centurions, right? The 100 and over
mhm,
in certain areas, above Lake Como in Italy and certain parts of the Catalan area in France. So there's lots of little pockets, and they all have that in common: is that they're constantly walking, they're constantly drinking wine. Maybe that has something to do with it too, but they're constantly and they eat dinner late, but then they walk. They're not afraid of walking 30 minutes home.
right.
Where us, we're like, hell no, we'll Uber that if it's 10 minutes away, right? Or we'll drive. So it definitely makes a difference. And if you're older, you're going to stay younger. And I see it. I mean, a 75-year-old in certain countries and areas of those countries look like they're 55 in the U.S.
Right.
So there's a big difference. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
being 60, I see that. Again, you want to go?
it helps with breathing and being able to move a lot easier. Working, I guess,
Yeah.
working out in general. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And any type of workout. It doesn't have to be, and like we said, half an hour a day doing something is better than, half an hour doing nothing.
Nothing.
So yeah, yeah.
Right. We do. I mean, I think the U.S. is really a sick country. When it comes to overall health. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a
Well,
lot.
we want the magic bullet too.
Right.
We want that right away gratification, satisfaction. If the drug doesn't work, oh God.
Yeah.
So yeah, I that's the problem. We've been spoiled. Everything's convenient. It's easy. So we just, that's the way we live. And a lot of it is industry, right? That actually pushed that on us as well.
Yeah.
So we're kind of a product of our greatness in the U.S., right? And how advanced we are, which is also a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
All right. I
Oh,
think
let's see here.
we kind of covered this a little bit. You must working out an hour a day to get fit. 1 hour a day is only 4% of your day. No excuses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that.
So,
I like that. Yeah.
but as we debunk,
There- Yeah.
you don't have to work out an hour a day.
No, you don't. You don't have to work out a full hour a day. Absolutely. I agree. Oh, Christine keeps bringing up some amazing points. Like we should have her on the show. So, she found out after having 7 back surgeries. Wow, 7 back surgeries. Exercising, eating right helps to keep the pain away and keeps you limber, without a doubt. So there's 2 components to that. When you're working out, you're obviously lubricating the muscles and the joints a little better, but you're also increasing your endorphin levels. So
Mhm.
endorphins, the higher your endorphin levels, the less pain you'll have, and you're also decreasing, some of those not so good elements, certain hormones. You're probably decreasing eventually cortisol overall. But yeah, that's a big benefit working out. Endorphin increase, your hormone levels balance, so you start to feel a little bit better, and your muscles aren't so rigid. So you can definitely move and have less pain. And then eating right, like I said early in the show, anything you put in your body acts like a drug.
Yeah.
It just does. That's my background. You could be anything that they're chemicals, right? No matter what, they convert to chemicals. So if you're eating the healthy foods, sounds like you are. If you're eating those right healthy foods, those chemicals could have anti-inflammatory effects. They could have protein synthesis effects when you're building muscle. They can have synovial fluid increase effects in the joints and things like that. So it doesn't surprise me that by working out and eating right, you're going to feel less pain, and that's the key. It really is. So good. I'm glad you're doing that.
Well, I think if you trace back human origins, right, we were not meant to be sedentary creatures, right?
Right.
And we were meant to move around. That's
Yeah, absolutely.
that's what.
We were actually sprinters. No, and I mean this.
Oh, really?
So yeah, sure. So we were hunters and gatherers originally, right? So if
Right.
you think about it, we didn't, when we hunted animals, you had to hunt fast. It had to be a quick strike. You
True.
walked around and you looked around and you walked, but it was a short period that you saw an animal, you had to kill it fast, right? Or it's getting away. So it's a sprint to kill that animal. It's fast twitch movements, right? We were not marathon runners for the most part, unless you lived in Kenya, because they ran a lot.
Yeah.
But they're one of the best in the world, the high altitude.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. We were very fast twitch muscle fighting, killing animals, or things like that. We had to react fast.
Right.
But we used a lot of energy because we were constantly walking and moving. We were nomadic too, right? We went where water was. We didn't have piped water,
Yep.
so we were nomadic. So by being nomadic, we really weren't sedentary at all because we couldn't sit by the same cave or rock or even dwelling, if it's a tent or whatever. We
Yeah.
couldn't sit there long because we had to migrate to where food was. We had to migrate where water was. We had to get away from danger half the time.
True.
So yeah, we were always moving, and now we're not moving at all. So it's a big difference. I mean, we've changed our genetic profile quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think genetically it has affected us, right? I mean, over time, we've
Yeah.
probably bred some of these genetic deficiencies into us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, like I said, eating processed foods,
Mhm.
you have chemicals we weren't really, they're not nature, right? So they weren't really supposed to be introduced to the body.
Right.
So now you think about that, right? That's definitely changing over time is going to change your genetic profile, your DNA. We'll call it your DNA, whether it's damaging the DNA, fragmenting it, it's doing a lot to the DNA. And we've done that over time because most of the foods we eat now are processed.
Mhm.
I'd say, a good percentage. I mean, Robert F. Kennedy's trying to do something about that.
Thank God.
But, we have a lot of processed foods there. And, that processed food, really hasn't been well studied.
No.
They tweak the molecules and they're known to be dangerous. In fact, if you look at the US versus Europe, I keep saying, comparison, but in Europe, a lot of those foods that are processed here that we eat are illegal there because of the toxic effects on the body
I've read that.
and on the cells. Yeah, yeah, and it's true. It's definitely true. I eat dinner there and I go out for restaurants there. I never feel bloated. I don't feel like lethargic. I mean, I always feel really good because I think they don't have the processed foods. They're organic food. It's really good. Yeah,
You
I do think not using certain pesticides and organic grows and soil that's been enriched naturally definitely has a lot of benefit to it. It's really the way we were supposed to eat. I mean, really, that's the original way we've always eaten. So by reintroducing that into your diet, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I actually think it's really probably pretty effective. I mean, we're all going to slip and have processed food. You can't eliminate it completely, but if you could do as much as possible, I think you're going to see some great results in how you feel, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree because Lindsay and I did a study a while back. We decided to do
Yeah,
this on our own that we cooked 2 meals side by side. We did one with processed ingredients and one with all what we call natural ingredients, even though there was a certain amount of processing in them.
yeah, as
But
much as possible.
right. And I think there's a myth that goes along with that it's cheaper to eat processed food. It's more
Mhm.
convenient. It's easily accessible. When in the end we realized when we compared both price tags, they were within $2 of each other, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And the quality of food you got from the natural food was far surpassed what you got out of
without doubt.
the instant
Yeah,
mashed potatoes and the frozen broccoli and cheese, whatever. You know what I mean? I
you know,
think
you eat the salad out of your garden versus from the store.
right. Yeah,
Right? I mean, it's night and day.
it is.
So absolutely, I absolutely agree with you, and that makes sense to me when you did that test. That's pretty cool that you did that, actually.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, because you can see yourself, right? You're like, wow, this tastes amazing. But processed foods were introduced for really a couple of reasons. One was, food supply. You can increase food supply quicker because then you can use preservatives to protect the food longer, right? And then the other component to that is it is a lot cheaper to process, right? To manufacture. Did I lose you?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Right
yeah.
there.
I think you look a little frozen to me.
Hey, this is the very first kick, and I think we have a lot more information to come and their episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you guys, thanks for the first time. Some of you, Bios to Books, and everybody, thanks for joining us. Like, share, and subscribe. We're going to be every other week. So we're kind of bouncing back between guests and us. So podcast is on next Wednesday. We'll be on the following Wednesday. We're
Yep.
going to kind of alternate back and forth. So
Yep.
Rob's
Great.
only one person. So
That's right. That's right. I don't get a break.
no, you don't.
Yeah. Well, no, it's been great. Appreciate it. Love the discussion, and hopefully we get a lot of questions. As we progress. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
I think we will. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Yeah. Good. Good. Excellent,
all right,
guys.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. Like I said, please go like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take it easy, everyone.
Good night.